Good afternoon now, checking in here. Weather impact meteorologist Gary Frank from, let's just call it the Weather Cave. Just inventing new ways to do these here. And so we're just kind of hanging out here. One thing I'll pop up behind me as I kind of flash this on. You can see this behind me, and I will post. Let's see, I can do that. I can make it go real quick. You can text your questions at any point to 314-425-5355. I'm going to try to monitor that back and forth here as we discuss what's happening here through next week, right? It's pretty quiet overall right now. And what you're going to continue to see is, quiet conditions leading up to the weekend. Obviously, we had some rain yesterday, but you can see outside the arch, it's cloudy. But the main story for me is the fact that we're going to deal with more snow, right? And that's part of the story that I'll write. And you can see this here, and I'm going to try to, as always, I usually use my phone when I'm in the studio, but we're in the weather cave here. Got in a different way. I've got like 3 or 4 monitors here that are set up, and I've obviously created a green screen behind me that you can kind of see what's happening here. So as I look ahead and I hit space bar, you'll see me go back and forth, and I'll pop some of this stuff behind me as well. And I'll try to go through my whole spiel. You can text questions there, add them on any of the Facebook streams that you're watching, text that. I should be able to look at all that stuff. So let's get right to it, and I want to go through that, and then I'll try to answer your questions after the fact here as well. Now, what I want to point out is the fact that it is relatively nice outside. Let me post it. Let me do this right now. It's not all that bad. I'm going to post this here, and we're going to do that. I popped up. Yeah, there's 2 of me now. Let me get back to this particular system so you can see me here. And, I'll talk here, and then, of course, I'll go back and forth and take myself off of it so you can kind of look at it in a full screen sense. Obviously, when we're talking about what's happening right now, there's still a pretty decent amount of, at least right now, there's still some good cloud cover outside at the moment here. As I pull this back up, I'm going to get this back so I can hit space bar through this. It's a whole process. As far as temperatures go right now, we're still above freezing, obviously. We've got temperatures that are holding steady here. We're above freezing. And at the moment, for the most part, you're going to continue to look at, temperatures that are holding pretty steady here for the most part through the, I would say at least above freezing, right? I pulled myself back off there. It's 39 degrees here at this moment, and you've got a north-northwest breeze at 13 miles an hour. We're above freezing, no big deal. Our average high is 43 degrees. We've started off so far with a 46 degree average temperature to start off the month of February. That's the 8th warmest start. We had a warmer average than last year, right? And we talked about that at great length, the fact that it was warmer last year. We started off with temperatures in the near 80 degree range. We finished with 86, was our warmest date in February ever. And so when you're talking about what's going on with that, that's, to me, that was the most impressive thing here as I flashed this back on so you can see me here, right there. That was probably the biggest thing for me is we had temperatures that started off very warm, right? So when you're talking about that, now look at current temperatures, right? You have temperatures mostly above freezing, but still there's a sharp contrast between looking at, Nashville and, Cape Girardeau versus Memphis. And, that's where the cold front is. And that's kind of what we've settled into over the course of the last couple of days as you kind of look at a few things. And, right now, you'll notice that that front is kind of working its way further to the south. And that's what we're going to look at here. There's not much impending cold air. The times that I've showed you this here over the course of the last few days, there's pretty good impending cold air. And, there's not a ton of that here at this moment. So that's one of the things that I'm going to look at here as I, just show you advanced tracking, right? We've got obviously some of these spaces here in advanced tracking that show you, let's look at a few of these things, right? You see some of the warmer tones here that we kind of settle into. Put this back on here so I can kind of futz with both of them here. We've got some warmer tones here that you can kind of settle into and that you're kind of used to. Obviously stuff down here is much warmer, right? You've got all this stuff that's warmer. We've got high to the south, and this colder air is staying way to the north. But, as I kind of put this into motion, watch this over the next few days, right? I think when you're looking at what's happening over the next few days, there's not much of a change. We're going to vary back and forth here and there, but there's no significant big change. But what you'll notice here as we move into the weekend and next week, there's some colder air. And one of the highlights here in the system that we're going to watch develop is here. It's once again, where does this move? Does this move further south and avoid us completely? The cold air, the core of the coldest air really stays well to our north. I'm not expecting that this is something where, okay, well, we're going to get a ton of snow and all of a sudden it gets 10 degrees, it's 5 degrees, the stuff's with us, it keeps refreezing. It's going to be around freezing, and I think that's going to create some complications, as so often is the case when we get into these systems here. And, I think that's going to be one of the things that we look at here over the next few days. I let this play into motion. You can see where that system kind of hangs around, and then it gets a little warmer here. But, for the most part, we're still looking at, even as I pause this into next Monday, watch, this is once again the 10th. I put the date up there to the top. Watch some of this stuff here as I pause this. Temperatures by Monday, mid-30s. Watch all that rain to the south. And even as I can kind of pull some of this stuff, watch where all this rain is. And it's not an incredibly organized system here that you're dealing with, but you have temperatures here that will get colder to the north, but then as that cold air kind of sinks further south, it's going to interact with the surge of moisture. And that's where I want to pause it Tuesday into Wednesday. And that's where I think we're going to see our issues most likely, whether or not it's late Monday into Tuesday or Wednesday. And I've just picked one particular model here. And that's why I wanted to kind of switch things up here as I pull this, because watch what's happening here with all of these. And I'll put this on this full screen. Let me put some of these models into play. I've selected a few of them, and really for the most part, they're all on Tuesday or Wednesday here of next week. Now, to be fair, there are multiple systems, but I wanted to go further than our particular computer model systems will go and show you another variation of what this website looks like, and kind of gives you an idea of some of the models that we look at. This is some of the behind the scenes stuff that we often do when it comes to what's happening. And you'll see that this snow specifically here, this is, a similar time frame into Tuesday or Wednesday. And watch this particular one, and then let's look at this one Wednesday into Thursday. You've got more of the icy mix component where we're on the northern edge into snow, and some of us don't get any at all. And then you're on another component where, let's look at these systems here that are coming in a little more aggressive, where you see more snow, more freezing rain and sleet. And I think, like I said, as a result of the temperature, there are going to be some changes that are going to be involved in all of this over the next few days. Look at all these models here. And I flash this back and forth again. You look at some of this here, and let's look at this here, right? You've got model number 1, model number 2, model number 3. They're all different, but they're all showing some sort of storm, right? And I think that's the most important key point here, is we're dealing with some storm at some point, right? One of these things will impact us Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. It's just a matter of, does it arrive late Monday overnight? Does it arrive Tuesday morning? And I think that it's probably going to arrive Tuesday morning. And that's where I think that we're going to start to work our way into that here as we talk about what's happening here, because we've got obviously some snow and some sort of wintry mix deal that is built into this here. So like I said, you're going to see this here at some point. Like I show you this different model completely. This is where we're going to see some sort of change into next week. So I flashed this on Tuesday. I think at the bare minimum, Tuesday is a day that we're going to watch. And I talked about this, I showed you this specifically here, and that's the beauty of being in the weather cave. I can kind of move around a little bit here and kind of just, right? So this is what I showed you Saturday and Sunday as highlighting the potential for weather impact alert days. This may even go into Thursday as well. This may not be lead into Monday. Those are the days that we're watching specifically. But what I'm talking about over the next few days, and what we do is, we're watching the model trends right now. And, we're 5 to 7 days. That's where we're looking at it's more likely or less likely to occur, right? When I just go back just a little bit on this deal, so you can kind of talk about where we were maybe yesterday, because it kind of flash forwarded. This is where we are right now. And we have this pattern recognition, which is, it's a favorable weather pattern for our winter weather, right? So I can look at these storms that are way out in the Pacific and talk about this stuff. But until we know what it's going to do, me showing you snowfall maps does me or you no good, because it's going to change all the time. It may change every 3 hours, really. But when we start to get closer to these numbers here, and then we look at the timing and storm type here, that's where we're going to start to try to redefine and refine rain, snow, sleet, or ice, and then kind of figure out the forecast deals where we can bring the amounts and timing and really gather that in. Keep in mind, all this is about here, and then it feeds into this kind of stuff here. So that's what we're looking at here. So let's focus on Tuesday or Wednesday because, I use, kind of a simple thing where, red X would be, hey, we're still not sure. This is still a ways away. Whereas this, let's just call it a yellow dash. It's still kind of a caution. We got an idea, but we're not quite there. And I still don't have a green check mark, which means, hey, it's a pretty good certainty. That's what I'm feeling good about, right? So let's look at one thing. I think in regards to temperatures, the temperatures are close to freezing. So that's where it's really going to matter. A degree or two is going to matter, not only at the surface, but above the surface. Thousands of feet above the surface, what happens? Are we going to get more ice? That ice, sleet, that will change our amount of snow that we're going to get as well. So, as we talk about the track, we're still in a good spread and storm position. There are a couple that are, as I showed you, and I'll flash this back on for you here. Let's look at the spread of storm position, right? And that's a matter of this, right? You look at some of this right here, that being the snow and ice and snow here and the frozen precipitation, the sleet. This moves a little further north, you've got something that looks like this, right? Where you've got more rain here, there's not as much of this, and then there's more snow behind this. And I think that's important as we look ahead because you're going to look at continuing changes as I show you all of these models. And that's why I think I'm going to try to put these in here each day and show you something like that because I want to show you what we're looking at where it changes all the time, right? And like I said, I'm going to be looking at your questions if you guys are just following along right now. Let me get through the whole, I'll just call it my spiel here and talk about that because, I think as we continue to go through over the next few hours, that's what we're dealing with here in the short term. So, that's what we're going to be talking about here. As far as the timing is concerned, let me get that one back up here. And also, like I said, you can text questions at 314-425-5355. I'm going to look up that. I'm going to look at that up in a second. So like I said, I can get my head out of the way and figure that out. Like I said, I will answer those questions here once I get to the end. However, totals were still a ways off. I still have ice, sleet, and snow that I think are all variables from north to south where you could be located. So those are the things that I'm going to look at specifically here over the next few days. From Monday to Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday specifically, but let's call it Monday night right now as well, weather impact alert days. Two of the things that I'm really going to focus on are all types of wintry precipitation. Slick conditions are going to be possible and expected. If you want me to know whether or not school is going to be canceled on any of these days, I don't have that answer, but I can tell you right now, Monday is not the day that is going to get canceled. Okay, so let's just get that out of your head. We're not canceling school on Monday. I can tell you we probably won't have school the next Monday. You know why? It's President's Day, so you probably got the day off. But slick conditions are going to be possible here. Now, we do have accumulating snow that's expected. I think that at some point there will be accumulating snow, freezing rain, and sleet, without a doubt, right? We're going to have slow travel. That's going to be hard to avoid, I think, at any point that it's going to be slow travel. But what you'll notice here is just prepare for something to shovel. I think we're at that category right now. This is not hey, I'm talking about 9 to 12 inches of snow. I don't see anything like that coming in. But the storm track could change, and I want you to be prepared for that because that means amounts of anything could change. Doesn't mean we couldn't get 6 to 7 inches of snow at some point through that or a little while. That's not out of the question, right? I think those things are in play. I don't think you're talking about tons and tons of snow at this point, but we have 2 to 3 systems that could impact us all differently over the course of next week, specifically Monday night through Wednesday at the very least. So when I go through things, here are the 3 things that I want to talk about in terms of wintry precipitation here. And you talk about, Tuesday and Wednesday being the fact that, like I said, I can move here. So that's the beauty of this. Tuesday and Wednesday being the 2 days that are weather impact alert days here at this moment. Could change, right? As we continue to talk about things. But measurable precipitation is expected, I think, and expect plans for impacts to driving. I think Tuesday and Wednesday. I think Tuesday morning, if I'm going to pick a day, at least in the short term, that's a day where I think, you're probably going to get some sort of measurable precipitation. I got to get a little liquid here while I keep talking. A little dry here in this time of the year. But there will be measurable precipitation. It's just a matter of what it is I think, at this point. So when you're talking about what's happening here, I'll show you a very early snowfall map, and then I'll start to look at some of your questions and concerns, comments, and try to answer all those here throughout. What I do notice is, what I want to point out is, and this is something Scott talked about on the stream last night, with an early ensemble guidance. And you'll also start to see another one that Scott will show, which is the probability of 1 inch of snow, 3 inches of snow, 6+ inches of snow, and it'll have some sort of percentage. And what that does is that's going to take into account some of those models that I just showed you. It all feeds that data in there into some sort of probability. And from a probability standpoint, 1 to 2 inches through Tuesday night is pretty likely, right? I think that number is coming up where you're looking at 60 to 70% chance for at least for that, right? And I think that's where we are with things. I think those numbers are going to start to come up as well. But like in terms of what it looks like right now at the very bare minimum, keep in mind what I showed you earlier, and I'll scan back through this, is the fact that I'm not going until I have a better handle on, the storm track, as I pull this up here and hit spacebar, as I watch those model trends, I'm not going to give you some sort of snowfall map until the forecast details are ironed out, right? I showed you the fact that, I'm not going to give you my specific numbers for this last one here. Well, that's a pretty big check mark. Okay, there it goes. So until I'm ready for this, the amounts, we're going to wait a minute. And that's going to be something I'm going to follow along with you through this weekend here. But we're not to this point yet where I'm going to say, hey, Rolla's getting this much snow, Bowling Green's getting this much snow, this is where we are, So, and I'll go over that again. I'm sure those are going to be questions that you have in the chat as well as our Facebook Weather Watchers group here. But like I said, until we start to iron those things out, we're just not there. So let me put this back on. I'll just put this one here specifically, the arch. As I look at some of your questions here, now that I've gone through that specifically, so that I can give you an idea of what maybe I can pull up for you, or look at some of the questions that you have here on Facebook. And let's see, so we've got most of the live questions are in pretty good shape there. Let me look on this computer and I can see if there's any text questions here for that, and I can pull up a few things here in that regard. Let me see if I got any questions here. I gotta refresh that here just to see what's going on. Yeah, I can do that. I got a message to do the Cold Palmer celebration. I'm going to do that for you right now. See, that's the beauty of the live stream here. You ask questions and we deliver, and we're going to try to stay warm. We're going to try to stay warm. It's cold though, and that's one of the things that we got right there. That's on our live stream here. Let's see, we got a couple more things. So not a ton of people chiming in on the live stream, and that's okay too, because it's early. It's a Thursday. Maybe you don't care about the snow quite as much. The best part about this is you can rewatch it, because I'm going to post it in a video update that I in the story that I wrote regarding all this, so you can read it, you can watch it, and we'll update these all things. Tara said, my baby is due next Friday. Please tell me nothing is going on that weekend. Right now, I don't have anything specific going on that weekend. But if your baby's due early, we may be dealing with a little snow. I don't think this is a debilitating snow where you can't drive in it at all. I'm not saying that. It's definitely going to cause you some issues. But when we had, I drove in some of that stuff on Sunday night coming home from work, man, I'm telling you, they got us hotels. It was great. But man, I'm telling you what, it was a lot of snow and it was a tough drive. So hopefully we're more prepared for it than we were. Let me look at my 5 on Your Side Weather Watchers group and see if we are, anybody's talking about any of that stuff here. Always nice to check in with them. We've got, okay, we've got nobody's checking in. We had a few people that asked me earlier, and some of our 5 on Your Side Weather Watchers, Roy said he could tell the livestock was moving around a little bit differently. So that's one thing that we're kind of checking in with as well. So, for the most part, let me look at some of those 5 on Your Side Weather Watchers here. Like I said, we we have a pretty good discussion about what's going on weather-wise, and I talked about this and about the live stream here. Let me look at some of the people that are chiming in with that. They said, let me see, I alerted Roy. Russ said, I read 1 to 3 inches on Tuesday and Wednesday, and Russ would be very happy if I could make that feet instead of inches. I'm not sure everyone feels that way. I certainly don't. I was happy to get rid of the snow away from the golf course for once. I broke my long-term streak of not playing it every month in the city I lived in because of the consistent snow and cold. This snow I don't see, A, sticking around quite as long, and B, causing as many issues, but it's still going to cause some issues. Roy said something is in the works last few days. The livestock is acting like they've got hollow legs and you can't keep them full. So anyway, so that's where we are right now with that. Let me double check to make sure we don't have any more questions here. None on the live stream there, none on this particular live stream here. As I look at any questions here, Hunter asked how much snow from next week. Like I said, I don't think that we're at that point where we're going to figure out how much snow is going to be. I think at the very least, we're going to say, I'll pull that back up on this one here. I'm trying to just figure all these things out. Of course, it disconnected because that's what happens every time. I'll pull that up. I actually don't need to pull. Yeah, I do need to pull that up because that's what I'm going to do. So, like I said, we're not at that point yet. This is where we are right now. We're still at the, hey, this is going to happen at some point, but we're just not there yet. We need to be from that 1 to 2 inches point where, or 1 to 3 days out point where, we're looking at pattern recognition here and we're trying to figure things out from that perspective. And I just don't think that we're there just yet here at this moment. So, we're still watching those model trends and trying to figure things out. But, forecast details, if you're asking me questions about how much, I think on average it's 1 to 2 inches that we're looking at. Hi, Lee. Thanks for checking in. Karen said my back is killing me again, so something is going to happen. Okay. I don't know. I like Anna called me a chicken. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Field my question, chicken. Can you turn on the arch to lessen the snow? Feels like if that was something I could do, I'd have done it already. Or we're going to have to, we'd turn the arch on to make it cooler when it's 103 degrees downtown, but that's not where we are at this point. So thank you, Anna, for calling me a chicken. I don't know what that means, but thank you for your service. Let's see. And those are the kind of questions I'm getting. That usually means that it is time to end this live stream. But it's not out of the question. Generally, let me look and see where I am with that. And I think in general, that's where we're going to wind down with that one. I'm trying to see all the comments. They're not always easy to see all the time in real time. But I think, like I said, once again, overall, we're trending to the point where as we have weather impact alert days, that's where I think we're going to be dealing with the most. I really think that we're going to be dealing with, in terms of the potential for snow, that's what we're dealing with here at this point in time. We are still going to be dealing with snow, and our weather impact alert days, to me, look like Tuesday and Wednesday. Those are the days that I'm looking ahead to for measurable precipitation, plans to impact driving. Those are the days that are our next weather impact alert days. So as we continue to focus on that, that's what I'm looking ahead to overall by next week. So I'll try to answer your questions offline. I'll end the stream for now, but just wanted to check in. We'll try to check in here ever so often over the next few days to bring you updates about the snow. Like I said, the bottom line is this is not going to be quite like the last snow that we had, where we were dealing with feet of snow in some cases and very cold air. It'll be a little warmer. It's still freezing, but we're not going to see the consistent frigid air. So I think things will improve based on the last one, but it's still going to cause us some issues here into early next week. We'll keep you posted about that and have updates here once again as I continue to close this stream, and I will, like I said, put this back on for you. Like I said, I'll leave this part up so you can see that. Now you can get my face out of the way, of course, and I'm going to close this stream, and I will leave you with that. Like I said, we will have updates for you for now, and we will see you soon.